Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 out of 2 games between Yurilove and Chickendew in round 4 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Pegasus Bridge, and on the Allied side Yurilove is playing with the Guards Armoured. On the Axis side Chickendew has chosen the third Fallschirmjager. So this is a nice matchup between two reasonably strong divisions, not top tier, but still have their strengths. Guards Armoured, of course, has the Cromwell 7 in Phase A, which has the 11 AP and 11 front armour, which is a force to be reckoned with against many divisions, especially the third Fallschirmjager. The third Fallschirmjager will have to find a way to kill that with either a Pupschen, maybe some Panzerschreck at close range, but other than that, the third Fallschirmjager has limited options to kill a Cromwell in Phase A. The other thing that Chickendew will have to be worried about is infantry availability. The Guards Armoured is actually pretty decent on infantry availability, and that can be annoying for a division that relies so much on elite infantry. So those Fallschirmjagers will have to start paying themselves off quite significantly in order for that to not become a problem. So Chickendew's micro of his infantry will be extremely important. In Phase A though, if the Cromwell 7 does come in, there is opportunities for the L6s to still do damage as long as they're not on the same side of the map. Now Cromwell 7 will obviously take on L6s very easily, but if an L6 is left on its own, able to engage infantry and sort of support those infantry engagements well, then it can be very effective still. The other thing that Chickendew can use is his Air Force, of course. He could bring in those MU-109s, he could bring in HS-129s, and those may help him throughout the game. But it really does depend how much he decides to focus on his air play over his ground play. For example, if this was Vulhati, we often see him focus a lot on his ground play. He likes infantry. Whereas other players have different styles where they maybe focus more on the air as opposed to the ground. Over on the side of Yuri, let's have a look at some of the units going down to give us an idea of what's going to happen here. We have some motorized rifles and rifles on the bottom side. There's going to be a Stuart 6 heading into the town, accompanying 2 units of motorized rifles and the command. For the top side, it's going to be 1 unit of rifles with the Willys MMG with the recon. There's 1 Willys on the top side with the recon there as well. Now this Willys, it can kind of tuck itself into this orchard behind the tree line, which is a way to sort of hold the front line forwards on that top side if you can. Or you could maybe hide it behind one of these groups of trees and take advantage of line of sight. Over on the side of Chickendew, it's going to be a Pak 41 Gerlich for the top side with a Panzerschreck and some command in order to defend this town. Then for the mid, it's going to be 1 unit of Fallschirmjagers with some command infantry and a mortar. Another unit of Fallschirmjagers heading to the centre as well. Then you've got 2 units of recon on the bottom side. These could be Fallschirm Speartroop, Fallschirm Sharpshooter, or the Fallschirm Panzerabwehr. And then you have the Opel Blitz there with the Fallschirmjagers. Now the Stuart 6 is going to be pushing on the top side with some motorized rifles there, so Yuri going for a 2-prong attack, 1 into the center, 1 into the top with those Stuarts, maybe to make some ground early on. Now if Yuri can manage the range of those tanks against things like Panzerschrecks and Panzerfausts, the Stuart 6s can do a lot of damage, because when they get their 3 30 cals on target, that is certainly a force to be reckoned with that can melt infantry squads very quickly regardless of their veterancy. So that is something I hope to see Yuri take advantage of, but it's also up to Chickendew to not allow that to happen. Keep out of line of sight, get that infantry micro on point. But either way, we are off, and you can see the deployments here from either side. Nice sort of defense on the bottom side here from Yuri. Massive sort of focus more on the mid and top side than there is on the bottom side, but it's fortunate for Yuri that Chickendew is kind of doing the same. He's got more invested to the top and mid than he does on the bottom. Now 85 points in Phase A for Chickendew will allow him to afford some Fallschirmjagers to sort of back himself up. Meanwhile, 80 points on the side of the Guards Armoured. does match up quite well. Will allow him to save some points, maybe to get in that Cromwell 7 at some point. But Stuart 6s will do the job. They are basically just enough to deal with an L6 while still providing that same amount of infantry support. So I like the choice of the Stuart 6s, honestly, against the 3rd Fallschirmjager, and it's a lot less risky as well. So if a Stuart 6 goes down to a Fallschirmjager unit, then it's not the end of the world, because they don't cost as much as, say, a Cromwell 7 does. But motorised rifles here, they do have their half-track taken out. They are going to be pinned down very quickly indeed. And they're actually going to get taken out as well. Fallschirmjager doing the damage, that's for sure. 81mm mortar coming in with the smoke grenade there to stop the Stuart 6 getting involved. I really, really like that play from Chickendew. Now going to be using HE shells to pin down the motorised rifles as well. So, conservative start really from both players here. Generic sort of infantry engagement occurring in the town. Now, when I've watched Pegasus Bridge in the past, we often actually haven't seen these infantry engagements occur in the town, because most of the time it's been the bottom here that's being contested more. But it's nice to see a little bit of a difference here. Chickendew pushing quite hard with the Fallschirmjagers versus the vehicles and infantry that Yurilove has presented. However, Fallschirmpanzerabwehr getting a little bit ahead of themselves there. Do manage to get into cover, which is good. Get themselves out of line of sight. Surprised that squad actually survived in the face of all those machine guns, but there we go. Fallschirmjagers once again going for the pin onto the motorised rifles. This is a really nice target actually for this mortar, because there isn't really much place it can miss. It will do a lot of morale damage to the half-tracks as well as the motorised rifles themselves, so that is a nice mortar strike coming in there. Pack 41's pressing into the top side. Chickendew looking for land where he can find it. May give him the +1 early on, especially if he could push this little salient back. That would maybe be enough to get the 52%, which would be a nice start for the 3rd Fallschirmjager. Especially against a division that does have the strong armour to deal with early on. The 25-pounder has been brought into support. That will hopefully be looking for the counterbattery onto the 81mm mortar. That would be an ideal thing to use that for. Otherwise, just go for the pin onto the infantry squads, so that Yuri's infantry doesn't have to do as much work, basically. What I've said before, and what I'll continue to say, is that why fight elite infantry when you can just pin it down and surrender it? And that is definitely the case here. Of course, in this case, you'd have to pin down the Fallschirmjager as well, if you wanted to pin down any other units. Now, L6 has come in, does manage to kill off 4 of those men in the rifle squad before they get into cover, and like mentioned previously, if the L6 can avoid the fire from like a tank, for example, like a Stuart 6 or a Cromwell 7, then it can go to work on these infantry squads very well indeed. Fallschirmpanzerabwehr gets a shot onto one of the half-tracks there, gets killed itself. We can see this 25-pounder is being used for counter-battery. I like to see that happening for sure. Fallschirmjagers though in this building, they are pinning down these rifles very well indeed. But of course the 30 cals are getting on target and slowly but surely pinning these units. Now the Fallschirmjagers, they don't get pinned as quickly because they do have that 3-star veterancy. So it does take them that little bit longer, therefore Chickendew being forced to manually retreat his forces as opposed to waiting for a pin and then clicking the fallback button. L6 is getting up close and personal, looking to clean up some of these half-tracks if it can. Does manage to get the track wheel damage, but not quite the kill. Stuart's going to be trying to deal with that now. If it can have front armor facing, it should be able to get the kill quite easily. Yeah, L6 goes down. And that's the beauty of these Stuarts. They have just enough front armor to avoid being killed. But here comes the HS-129B1 in Phase A. That is going to take out the reinforcing Stuart 6. And that is a nice quick kill there for the HS-129. If he can continue to utilize that throughout the game, then it will pay itself off multiple times over. So, first strike down, gets a kill, lovely stuff. However, Yuri does still have M5 half-track and Stuart 6 alive. There's another M5 there, there's another Stuart 6 on the way. And you can see that these Fallschirmjager units are getting slowly but surely whittled down. 5 men in this Fallschirmjager squad, 5 men in this Fallschirmjager squad, and then there's just 7 left in this one. And if that continues to occur, and Yuri starts to work his way through this expensive infantry, then Chickendew may suffer for availability for the rest of Phase A until Phase B comes around. So this is the opportunity really for Yuri to make some ground. I'm very surprised though that there wasn't more of a push on the bottom side from Yuri, especially when it comes down to things like the Stuart 6s and the Cromwells. Now Fallschirmjager getting into an ideal range here to engage these rifles. Look what happens when the machine guns open up. It doesn't look like the machine guns even need to open up. That rifle squad getting absolutely chewed up. 53% territory now for Chickendew with that pin. Very nice job indeed. Going to start counting himself up some lovely points here. 25-pounder still looking for the counter-battery shots. Unfortunately, due to the lack of veterancy on that 25-pounder, the dispersion of the rounds is rather large. So I think Yuri would be lucky to actually get a kill onto the 81mm mortar, but at least he's stopping it from firing by keeping it pinned, or at least panicked. Because when a unit is panicked, especially an artillery piece, its dispersion is even larger, which means that it's basically less accurate overall. So Crusader AA Mark II being brought in to support the Stuart 6s now to hopefully avoid another HS-129 strike. But I think what would be nice for this Crusader AA Mark II to do is actually support infantry if it advances, because it can do a lot of damage with this 11HE gun. Now what would be nice as well is if Yuri could get his infantry within the 100-meter range of Fallschirmjagers, because he actually takes the advantage if he does do that, because then he'll be using his 8HE versus the Fallschirmjagers 6HE at close range. Whereas if you get caught at the over 100 meters, then the MGs get involved and things get ugly. 81mm mortar revealing itself again. 25-pounder looking for the kill, but that's done its job. It's pinned the rifles, stopped them from advancing for now. Stuart 6, that's wheeling up to the open ground here. This is a little bit risky in my opinion. Yuri probably feels safe because the M5 half-track hasn't been shot at, but having the Stuart 6 move to the top does sort of leave it vulnerable to a pack, and I think Yuri's just lucky that Chickendew hasn't started moving that down, because that could easily have the 1000 meter range to the edge of the town here and start killing off some units that get aggressive there. Chickendew though, he's decided to bring in some 210mm off map. That's looking to strike the Stuart 6. Might end up killing the motorized rifle leader, which would be a really nice kill, because it would take away the veterancy from all of these surrounding units. That leaves potential for surrenders in the future, and also just takes away combat effectiveness, which is really nice. Taking them out of the building there was a little bit risky, as they will take a lot of damage if they're not in cover. That's exactly what's going to happen there. The motorized rifle leader does go down. Chickendew would have been informed of that, because I don't think he had killed anything else recently. So that probably popped up on the side. Either way, Fallschirmjager's opening up. They managed to kill off one rifle squad. This rifle squad under pressure did manage to kill off 3 of the Fallschirmpanzer Abwehr though. Pack 41 Gerlich comes in, looking for kills onto some of these half-tracks and tanks. There is a hell of a lot of fire support here for Yuri, and that is starting to put a lot of pressure onto these Fallschirmjagers. But +1 still sitting in Chickendew's favour. Chickendew's deciding to bolster the bottom side with an AT gun, maybe scared that Yuri's going to try and change tack and push on this bottom side where Chickendew's defences are rather light. But at the moment, I think honestly, Chickendew will be happy that Yuri's trying to push through the mid, as it's probably the easiest place for him to defend, especially in Phase B, where he can reinforce with things like Fallschirm Pioneers, which are really, really strong 12-man squads with HE grenades. So if something like a motorized rifle unit gets close, they just get absolutely demolished. Fallschirmpanzer Abwehr, they managed to take out a half-track, that's nicely done. Now they should look to kill off more half-tracks, possibly even the Stuart 6s, and if that is allowed to happen, then Chickendew will start to whittle down this concentrated force that Yuri has. And by doing so, will relieve himself of a lot of pressure whilst maintaining his +1 lead. I-41 Gallic takes out one of the half-tracks, off-map strikes coming down, but the Fallschirmpanzer Abwehr, they cannot wait. They're going to pay the price for that impatience. The rifles do take them down. Fallschirmjagers, they are going to get taken down to 3 health, but in comes that artillery. Will likely make the difference. Going to pin the half-track, stop it from surrendering the Fallschirmjäger. With the Fallschirmführer falling back, that is not giving the extra veterancy to these Fallschirmjägers. I think Yuri identified that, was going to go and push for the surrenders, but didn't quite find it. Pack 41, again, may find another kill onto a half-track, nicely done. 25-pounder, going to be putting smoke in front of the Pack 41. Interesting choice. Especially considering the half-track was likely to die before that smoke landed. Therefore, HE probably would have been better in that case, but I still like the idea. Fallschirmjägers trying to maintain their distance. But those 3 squads that were in the town here, one's been killed, I think. One's... actually, no, never mind. One's here with 4 men. One's here with 1 man. And one's here with 2 men. So they are eventually going to go down. But Chickendew is definitely finding value from these Fallschirmjägers. They may not be picking up the kills themselves, but they're certainly doing a lot of damage and helping pin these forces before they make too much ground. On the top side, looks like Yuri is going to go for a play. He has brought in the Cromwell 6, accompanied by a Stuart 6, and also a Crusader AA Mark 1 to defend himself against the HS-129s. Here comes the HS-129 once again. ME-109 G6R6 has been purchased to escort that. Can a kill go through? Crusader AA is going to be the target. Smart move by Chickendew to focus that. Took advantage of the range. And, wow. I feel like that's a pretty big mistake here from Yuri. If he loses this Tempest, which he may well do, as the ME-109 has managed to get away from the Crusader AA Mark 1. I think it would have been better for the Tempest to fly over this Crusader AA in order to avoid that from being killed. But HS-129, will it get out alive? This is very important. It's not going to. HS-129 goes down. Yuri manages to clean up both of those aircraft for the price of one of his Tempests, which is not too bad in the grand scheme of things. But he did lose his Stuart 6. He did lose the Crusader AA. The Stuart 6 went down, I believe, to the AT gun whilst we were following that air engagement. So, interesting trades across the board. Yuri loses his power on the ground, but gains power in the sky, which is not necessarily good in terms of what he wants to do. But either way, I'm sure he'll be happy with that air trade. Pack 41 Gerlich takes out one of the half-tracks. Cromwell 6 now going to be engaging. Looks like it's taking on the Fallschirmjägers though instead of the Pack 41. Will want to fire position this Pack 41 for sure. Motorized rifles and rifles though are starting to engage that with their brain guns. So now Chickendew, he has reinforced the centre here with the Fallschirm Pioneers. But it seems as though Yuri's just starting to bang his head against a brick wall, whilst Chickendew continues to make himself more points. He has now gone over the 500 point mark, which is not too significant. But if Yuri continues to invest towards this town, I feel like he's just going to end up running out of steam, or possibly just running out of points to invest in units that actually work here. Like, I think, honestly, when there is this huge space on this bottom side and you are playing an armored division into more or less an infantry division, you want to, take advantage of this, because what's the best AT that Chickendew has? It's these Pak-41 Gurliks in Phase A. He has the HS-129, that's just being shot down though. So an open ground armor push is quite feasible in this scenario. Either way, those Fallschirmjagers finally fall down. These Fallschirmjagers on the bottom side are under fire once again. 81mm Morse are still being counter-batteried but remaining alive. Fallschirmjagers have pushed into the tree line on the top side. They're going to be taking on the motorized rifles. But this Cromwell 6 is certainly helping out, that's for sure. Pak-41 finds itself at 1 health. Now I haven't seen my motto actually being fulfilled for a while. That's the 1 health AT guns are the deadliest. I'll have to see if this Pak-41 can change that. There's also a 1-star Pak-41 in the town, which is now engaging the Stuart 6. It is going to get the internal fire. Can it find the kill? It can. I'm sorry to Yuri there. I've just jinxed him with that. Of course, this game has already been played. This is not live, but either way, Pak-41 finds the kill with 1 health, which is very nice indeed for Chickendew. Can he do it again on the top side? Find the kill either onto the Stuart 6 or the Cromwell 7, or 6, sorry. That would be ideal. However, the Pak-41 has come into the tree line. It's going to come under fire before it can even fire itself, and the Pak-41 goes down. So no luck on the top side. And, well, 25-pounder cleans up the Pak-41 in the mid. So no more chances there for Chickendew to find 1 health AT gun kills. But still maintaining the +1. And that's counting up now to 600 points. Cromwell 6, Stuart 6 and the Sherman 5 now all engaging the Fallschirmjagers that are presenting themselves on the edge of these tree lines, which basically means that Chickendew is going to have to fall back, kind of wait on the infantry of Yuri to press through itself and then kill them as they do so. Stug 3 arriving on the top to reinforce there, maybe just to cover the road. Fallschirmjager on the bottom, continuing to pin down rifles, just one man on his own, trying to get the job done. Now, I don't think that Yuri's going to find any way through this town anytime soon, but if he starts to press more on the bottom side of the town, he could certainly find some ground to work with. There's also chance on the top side here, as it does seem that Yuri's constructed push is starting to really pay off. Sherman 5 versus the Stug 3 now, at maximum range. The Stug 3 does have the advantage because it has the 14 AP versus 11 armor as opposed to the 11 AP versus 10 armor. So there's a 1 difference between the Sherman's AP and Stug's armor, whilst there's 3 different between the Stug's AP and the Sherman's armor. So it technically has an advantage. But if the Stuart 6 does come in range, that will present an issue because the Stug 3 is much more likely to be pinned down, just like it was, and therefore would be caught out. So Chickendew starting to retreat that sooner than later was actually really smart because it meant that it didn't fall back in an awkward position that would cause it to be killed. Stuart 6 is getting a little bit too far forwards there. Nice to see that being moved back. It's basically an opportunity for Yuri to get infantry in first and then Stuart should go after. That's what should happen. So Yuri's taking that chance, and lucky the Stuart 6 didn't get picked off by something like a Panzerwreck as he pressed that forwards. By the way, it looks like Yuri has managed to neutralize that +1 for the time being. Let's start putting pressure up here. Killing these Fallschirmjagers, or Fallschirmführer, would be really, really nice actually, because it takes away the veterancy from the Fallschirmjäger, takes away the veterancy from the Fallschirm Pioneers, allows things to be surrendered, and Chickendew's light defense on this top side is starting to show. HS-129, look at that, that's coming in. It's going to be trying to engage the Crusader A Mark 1. Does find the ammo storage hit. Can it find the kill? It can. Only 1 round left in that gun though. Going to be forced to turn into the Tempests, but I believe the Tempest will be able to shoot that down before the MU-109 even makes a difference. Although, Yuri has focused both of the Tempests onto the MU-109 G6R6, so no HS-129 kill today. AA from both sides, forcing each other to fall back. And that is that. I believe an AA piece on the top side here just got killed. Fallschirmjagers, though, they're looking for the surrender onto the motorized rifles. That's going to bring them possibly into 150 meter range of the Stuart 6. Can they get the shot off? No, they cannot. Instead, the machine gun's just going to open up onto the rifles. That is something that Chickendew is going to want to avoid because he doesn't want those tanks to just engage him at close range. So across the board, I am actually surprised that Yuri hasn't made more ground yet. Especially on this top side. But it does mainly come down to this Stug. It is presenting quite an issue to these tanks. But there it just showed side armor to a Sherman 5. Lucky this Sherman 5 doesn't have that much veterancy, because otherwise that could have potentially been a kill. Still under threat. Stug 3 still could go down here, especially if the Stuart 6 hits its mark. It does not. Stug 3 actually lands an internal fire. I thought that said internal fragments for a second, but it's only an internal fire, so not the end of the world. But either way, Stug is going to get forced to fall back, and this town may fall under control of Yuri if Chickendew doesn't do something about it sooner than later. Looks like he may be bringing in like a Fallschirmjager. That'd be a nice choice, alongside 2 more units of infantry. Back 36 on the bottom side, that's going to be hit by artillery. Yuri just trying to make sure that he can contest in the skies with his double Tempest without being forced back by these anti-air units. Because then that basically stops the HS-129s from being a problem. Another 25 pounder on the top side, so Yuri now has 3 25 pounders on the field, which is quite a large investment into artillery for an armoured division. I'm surprised. And usually you'd see people focus more on the tanks. So for example, a Sherman 5 costs 130 points and a 25 pounder costs 120 points. So in this situation, would you rather have more Shermans or more 25 pounders? In my opinion, having 2 25 pounders is fine, but those points put into the third 25 pounder there, I think would have been better placed into a Sherman 5. That would have given more flexibility in order to continue pushing on the top side. But either way, off-map does get killed off. I'm not sure if that had any strikes left, but either way, he's going to get killed. Fallschirmjager, they managed to get the shot onto the Sherman 5. Lovely kill there. Stug 3 going to be engaging the Stuart 6. That is in trouble as it gets shooter wounded and forced to fall back. The rifles and the M5 half-track do manage to clean up the Fallschirmjager, but that is a significant kill onto the Sherman 5. And Yuri is now going to have to wait for reinforcements if he wants to press hard again. So another Sherman 5 now coming in, the one with command. No pressure being put anywhere else on the map. So this center area, this is more standard, where either player just kind of doesn't really do too much. On the bottom side, I'm really surprised that there hasn't been much focus down here from Yuri. But on this top side, Yuri was making ground, but this Stug 3 just turned things around, so did the Fallschirmjager, and getting that kill on the Sherman 5. They are going to be able to successfully defend that, and the Stug 3, reinforcing Stug 3, is on its way. So that's going to have that covered for quite a while. Now the 25 pounders are coming in strong and starting to pin the Stug 3. But it only takes a Stug 3 moving out the way of that artillery in order to prevent that from being pinned. So yeah, it's an awkward position at the moment for Yuri, because I think he wasted a lot of time and effort trying to press into the centre of the map against the 3rd Fallschirmjager, which on this map is probably its best terrain. On the top side as well, Fallschirmjagers are actually really decent, especially in defensive positions, because of the ranges from the buildings to the edge of the tree lines. Whereas on the bottom side, that is really where Yuri finds an advantage, and especially into Phase C when he gets access to Fireflies, there really isn't much that Stugs can do about that. Especially Stug 3s with the 1000 meter range as opposed to 1200 meter range. Now those 25 pounders, they are starting to become a problem for these two Stugs, but there still isn't anything really close enough to capitalise. This Sherman 5 for some reason is in this orchard, when it should really be fast moving up this road and getting ready to take advantage of that off map. Stuart 6, that may look to fast move into the town. Cromwell 6 though, that needs to keep this Stug 3 pinned. It looks like £25 is going to do the job anyway. HS129 coming in with a strike on the top side. Chickendew trying to shut down some of this aggression as his Stug 3s are falling back, because the track wheel damage there onto the Stug 3 is not ideal, but the HS129 comes in with a huge strike onto the Cromwell 6 and the Stuart 6. Both of them go down. Can Yuri make him pay? These Tempests have to shoot down both of these aircraft, and it looks like they will be able to, as both of them do get forced to fall back. But losing his forces on the ground is just devastating. Can the Tempest finally kill onto the ME-109 G6R6? No, it cannot. ME-109 G6R6 has gone onto the back of one of the Tempests. It looks like both of these Tempests are going to end up going down. A new Tempest has come in. Both players clambering for domination of the skies. But in a 2v1, this Tempest is in trouble. However, one of the ME-109s is being forced back. This is going to be close. Tempest has chosen to chase it. Smart move there by Yuri. Had the perfect timing to take that out and took it. Another 2-star Tempest. Can it defeat an ME-109? I believe here best bet would just be fly over your own air force, or own anti-air, sorry, and use that against your opponent. But ME-109 G6R6, it's going to have a lot of time on target. Not quite finding the kill. Tempest survives for the time being. Meanwhile, on the ground, just infantry engagements. Nothing really much happening elsewhere. Sherman 5 though has come in on the very bottom side. That's going to be engaging the Pack 41 at range. Pack 41 can't do anything about that. 8 AP versus the 11 front armor. Just going to have to fall back. Doesn't quite make it. Probably going to end up killed off. Sharpshooter going to kill off the Williams MMG. And now we see the Pioneers being hit very hard by the 25-pounders, but there's just not really much oomph on this top side, is there? 7-5 though cleans up one of the Stug 3s. Now going to be engaging the second. The help of the Crusade AA Mark 1 will pin this Stug down. Stug now in trouble. There needs to be a Panzerwreck of some sort in this town, and I think Chickendew has just chosen to bring in a Fallschirmjager. Double Blitz coming in on the bottom side. That's likely a Pack 40. Yes, it is. To take care of the Sherman 5. But Chickendew, with 11 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock, is still sitting there with 589 points, which is enough at the moment to take a minor victory. However, if Yuri breaks through, finding himself a +2, there is still potential for a victory on the side of Yuri, because that is not a huge threshold to breach. Pack 40 has been unloaded, been making its way forwards, has had its HE deactivated so it focuses primarily on armor. Smart move. Something that I would recommend. If you don't want to Pack 40, like if you want to give it an attack move order but you don't want it to attack like infantry for example because it has HE, just turn off the HE by clicking on it, and that will get the job done. If you click on it and it deactivates both of them, then just turn back on the AP on its own. And then it will only engage armor if it comes across it. 380mm mortar, or off-map, sorry, has been brought in now. That is going to be engaging these very weak rifles squads. However, there is 2 units of motorized rifles on the way, and this could be an extremely well-timed strike up there. But in the meantime, let's have a little look at what's happening on the bottom. 25-pounder now engaging some of this infantry. There is 3 units of Fallschirmjagers here, though, and only 2 units of infantry for Yuri. That's going to be rifles and motorized rifles. There is no way that they are going to be able to break through there. Let's zoom in and have a look at the destruction this causes. 380mm off map coming right down on top of 2 motorized rifles and these half tracks. This is gonna get ugly. 3, 2, 1. Here it comes. That half track just got hit directly. Germans falling back. Half track goes down. Rifles taken out. Motorized rifles, new fresh motorized rifles taken out to 1 health. This Sherman is in a tough position. All of them falling back, and well, Yuri's had enough. He thought he was making ground up on that top side, but he was not in the end. That off-map certainly blunted his chances. On the bottom side, I think there was much better chance throughout that game, but he just didn't test the waters enough. And after 30 minutes and 24 seconds, Chickendew takes the victory after some really smart HS-129 strikes. Although he was probably trading those HS-129s throughout the game, he was killing the significant units that were stopping Yuri from pushing without. So really, really nicely done. And Yuri actually came out with the positive KD, 1,815 kills to 1,665 losses, or 95 losses, so. But Chickendew held the ground and had the points that he'd managed to sneak in Phase A. Personally, don't feel like it should have happened that way, but Chickendew made it happen. Now this Tempest, it killed an ME-109 and the HS-129, so that is a couple really nice kills for the Tempest there. This one killing an ME-109 later on, and the Crusader AA did manage to claim the kill onto the second HS-129, or maybe even the third HS-129 that was purchased on the side of Chickendew. We do see that the Fallschirmjager, they were dealt with quite well. However, there was a significant kill onto the Stuart 6, or was it one of the Sherman 5, sorry, on the top side with the Fallschirmjager. But there we go. And then in terms of losses, HS-129s, lovely stuff. Took out the Crusader AA Mark II, took out a Stuart 6. The ME-109 took out one of the Tempests. HS-129 took out the Crusader AA Mark I, and this one taking out both the Cromwell 6 and the Stuart 6 on the top side was really, really nice. Look at this, Pack 41 though, took out 2 of the Stuart 6s, really nice. The 1 health Pack 41, I believe it was this one, got that clean kill in just before it died. Then the off map coming in at the end there, helping out. Pack 40, it looks like it did claim the kill onto the Sherman 5, so even the push on the bottom side was blunted in the end. And that's what led to the surrender. Nicely played by Chickendew. Not the cleanest of games from either player, but still a victory for Chickendew nonetheless. That's going to make him 1-up in this series versus Yuri. We'll have to see in the second game if Yuri can bring one back against Chickendew. But that's all for now. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.